Hey, this is Kevin Pollak, and you're listening to WithoutYourHead.com. But I guess you knew that, didn't you? Unless, of course, you lost your head.
Welcome to the station of decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neal, and I'm joined by the writer and director of Fear, Love, and Agoraphobia, Alex Delerma. How are you doing?
I'm great, and I like that open, the station of decapitation. I like that.
Thank you. Cool. I appreciate it. Very good, very good. So, well, it's out now on video on demand. So, if you can give people an idea who aren't familiar yet, what is the movie about?
Fear, Love, and Agoraphobia. It almost sounds like it's some kind of a scary kind of thing, doesn't it? Yeah. So it's a drama comedy, and it's about a guy who graduates high school, and he winds up he just lives with his mom, and he never leaves the house. So he's literally inside for about 10 years, and that's where the story begins with our agoraphobic man. His name is Chet. And then he encounters this very volatile female Marine. She can be volatile. Her name is Maggie, and so she's dealing with some issues of her own. So that's where the story is. It's a kind of a very odd love story if you think about it, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And where is anything in your life that you draw from for any of the characters of the story itself?
No. When I was trying to decide on what to write about, I knew that I wanted something that was drama, but also with some real life comedy, and I thought about exploring just that feeling of where most of us at some point in our lives go through this feeling of being trapped, in our own lives through circumstances, just feeling depressed, and you don't want to come out. You just want to sort of get into your cave and keep everybody out. And I was trying to figure out how I could dramatize that, and I thought, well, agoraphobia is a pretty sort of extreme version of being trapped and dealing with anxiety. And so it could make for a good theatrical way of conveying all this stuff that I wanted to convey. Plus, I hadn't really heard of a movie that dealt with agoraphobia in a serious way. There were a few out there that I was aware of that were either the basis of a horror film. She's trapped in the house with the monster, but she can't get out. She's got agoraphobia. Or it's a punchline. So I thought it would be an opportunity to shed some light on that subject in an authentic way as well. So that's where the idea came from.
No, I like how it dealt with it, because it's not something I really know a lot about. Is it something that you knew a lot before making the movie, writing the movie, or is it something you had to do some research into?
No, I didn't really know. I didn't know. I only knew that agoraphobia meant it's the fear of going outside and being in public places, being around groups of people, or just out in public. I had the lead character of Chet, who was played by the actor Dustin. He was attached to the film from the very, very beginning. In fact, he had approached me with a script that he wrote, and he wanted me to direct, and that he was going to star in. And I said his script really didn't speak to me, but I'd love to work with him, and I'd like to write something to showcase his unique talents. And so when I came up with this agoraphobia idea, he loved it because there's somebody in his life growing up that struggled with that. So he was kind of familiar with it. And so I said, why don't, instead of me, normally I would research this, I said, why don't you be my researcher? Because you're going to have to research this anyway to play the character. And, and go ahead and start. He brought me some books and things, and he interviewed some medical professionals, and I watched those interviews. And I also suggested to him actually reaching out to find some people who were suffering from agoraphobia, and see if they would allow him to, just to get some real personal information from them. And he did. So Dustin did the majority of the research. that I used for my script and that he used for his character. And there was one agoraphobic man in particular who was very, very helpful. He lives in Australia, and his name's Tom Gray. And Tom was great. He was very open and honest with, his life and his struggles and how his family helped him. And so he was very helpful in the research part of this film.
Mm-hmm. I thought he did a really good job because, like you say, it's not a caricature. There's times where there's some stuff in his life where he is, confident in, and then I thought he did a good job coming across as you could tell is fearful of, actually being away, and like the use of the news where, he's listening to news a lot, and just everything is scaring him.
Yeah. Thanks, Neil. Dustin's great, and the news. That there through the film, there's times where you're just hearing audio of news feeds or radio talk shows. That was not in the script originally, and writing about somebody who's agoraphobic because essentially they're just staying home and they're not doing much. Well, that's not necessarily true, but they're not doing something that a movie audience is going to, that's going to be super engaging. They're just doing what normal people do because they are, leading their normal lives. But anyway, the idea for all that, the audio that you'll hear periodically through the film, just news, radio, or whatever, that came to me during the editing process, because I was trying to figure out how to convey to the audience more of what he was fearful of, what was in his head, and that he probably did consume a lot of radio and talk shows and stuff like that. So that was something that really came along after the script was already written and shot, and it worked out pretty good.
Yeah. When I say about the news, I think it's not necessarily that it makes him agoraphobic, but it definitely gives him an inspiration for his agoraphobia. I don't know if that's the right word, but I thought you did it very well.
Totally get it. Yeah, totally get it. It's right. It's not the cause of the agoraphobia, but certainly, if you're already having an anxiety disorder, and you're getting a steady stream or steady diet from media of, things that are out there that will harm you, the air and things, shootings that happen and all that sort of thing. That certainly would not help somebody who is struggling with agoraphobia. You came from another. Go ahead.
Go on. I'm sorry.
Oh no! I was going to say, if somebody came from another planet and just had to learn about our planet just from watching, TV news or listening to the radio or whatever, you might think that it was this constant battle and everybody that it's just a horrible, horrible place. And of course, it's not. And the majority of people get along. But yeah, fear. If you think about it, if we're gonna go down this road with fear, what do they say in the news media? If it bleeds, it leads. So fear is something that is a ratings grabber, isn't it? It's something that want to put at the top of your newscast, TV cast, whatever it is. Because by nature we're all voyeuristic.
Even simple things. I think like weather. It's so based, especially here I'm in the Northeast, and anytime there's like snow of any kind, it's always like portrayed as it's going to be just the worst, thing ever. And
but you see, at least you guys have real weather in Los Angeles. It's hilarious because, if we get some rain, it's hilarious that they will use the the tag Storm Watch 2018. Here it comes. Be prepared. We're going to get some rain tomorrow. And literally, I'm driving down the freeway, and I'm like, there's some sprinkles. And, yeah, okay, it's not But there's not really poor weather guys out here. They don't really have anything to report. It's another day of sunshine.
Yeah. It worked kind of like The Boy Called Wolf this year because for me because I hear that all the time. Every time there's snow, it's always supposed to be so awful, and after a while, you just get desensitized to it. But then I actually had several nor'easters here and lost power, and it's like, oh, this is the one time I should actually listen to the news.
Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? You're right. That's a good analogy. The boy who cried wolf. I have one of my oldest brother lives in your neck of the woods, and I say, man, you have real weather to contend with, and he's like, yeah, but I love it out here. This is great. And he's like, yeah, it's no big deal. No big deal.
So how did you you mentioned knowing Dustin before the doing this. So how did you meet him?
So I have worked with both Dustin Coffey in Fear, Love, and Agoraphobia. The two lead actors are Dustin Coffey and Linda Brzezinski. And I had worked for years with both Linda and Dustin because I have an acting and directing studio, acting and directing classes. So I've been their acting coach for several years. And they both had some smaller television credits, but they both were struggling getting their first, movie, and certainly a leading role in a movie for a character actor is a difficult thing to do. Hollywood really, they really love youth, beauty, and a large amount of social media followers. Talent, sort of is almost like number 4 on the list. So especially if you're a character actor, that could be a tough thing. So anyway, I've worked with them for years, and I was very much interested in writing something specifically for their unique talents and to help promote their careers, because I happen to think they're very unique and unusual talented character actors, and so far all the reviews that we've gotten have been just positive, and they just glowing reviews about their chemistry and their performances. So I'm really happy that it all worked out the way we hoped it would, especially for them.
Yes. The movie primarily is the two leads, so you have to have people that do have chemistry. I mean, there's other characters, obviously, but the movie relies, I think, primarily on those two. And when you mentioned chemistry, I thought something in the movie was like the characters that have relationships already before the story starts. They seem like they're actually friends, for a long time, and then you actually see the relationship grow between the two leads, and that in both relationships seems natural. Seems like these people have been friends for a long time, and these people just met, but you can see how they connect.
Yeah. Thanks. I'm glad that came through. And so Dustin and Linda, they knew each other from my acting class, but they weren't necessarily friends outside of it. But what we did, or what I always do, is I like to have rehearsals for the actors, which in movies, for those of you who are listening and are not in the business, rehearsing in movies is a rare thing. Rehearsing for a play obviously is very, well, you can't do a play without rehearsal, can you? And typically you'll have 6 to 8 weeks. And I come from a strong theater background. And so I think we did about 2.5 to 3 months of me rehearsing them, and also workshopping my script so I could just, see if it's going to work out. So by the time we went and shot the movie, they had already been working on their characters with me for 2.5 to 3 months. And so, that's where that real familiar and chemistry, that good chemistry came from. All the rehearsal.
Yeah. Where did you film? What? I assume it's someone's house that you filmed it in.
Yeah, we wound up renting a house for 2 weeks in Southern California. It's called Thousand Oaks. It's I don't know, 15 minutes outside of 20, 30 minutes away from downtown Los Angeles. But we rented that house. That was going to be the Agoraphobics house. And we really didn't have a lot of locations. You know, we had the van that Maggie, our Marine, is living in, and then we had the bar and the prison. So it's pretty much basically four locations, and all of it in the greater Los Angeles area.
There was one particular shot I really liked is when Maggie and Chet are talking and they're drinking, and you have the camera going around them for the whole scene. And I assume that was that just that was a great scene. And technically, would that be hard to shoot since it was in a house? I assume there wouldn't be a lot of room.
Exactly. Yeah. Very. That's good. Yeah. That shot that you're talking about. This is when the Marine and the agoraphobic man start to bond, and she is schooling him in drinking. And there's a 360-degree camera move that just keeps going around them and around them. If you look at the kitchen that it is set in, I know you know this. It's like a traditional kitchen where you have an island that separates the dining area from the food preparation area, and then there's a little wall that divides those two spaces. So in order to create that 360-degree camera move, I think we had maybe four, I think it was 3 crew members that would hand the camera to each other, because one guy couldn't walk around the actors again and again and again in a circle, because there's a little, there's a wall there, but there's that window where the island is. And then one guy would pass the camera off to the next guy. And they did that, I think, a total of maybe 3 times. And so that was, I think that idea came from our cinematographer, Bill Totolo, who did a really good job. Yeah. And it was a cool camera shot.
Yeah, definitely. And I actually have that pretty much exactly in my house with the that separates the living room from the dining room. Yeah, right. Yep. Yeah. There's also kind of a small line. I don't want to say throwaway line. At the beginning of the movie, when Chet goes to the bank, and first of all, you kind of think maybe it's like he's going to rob the bank or something. But then
right,
when he's talking to the security guy afterwards. And it's almost like nowadays you can't escape friends from or even just people you know from high school, because he has a thing about friend me on Facebook, you assume, and so it's I think before the internet you could just never see these people again, but now it's unless you're just not on social media, but everyone is you can't even escape them if you want to.
That's a great. I didn't even think about that. But you just brought up something that, if a person is agoraphobic and, or somebody is just maybe, let's say they're just depressed or lonely, and they don't want to deal with anybody or anything. It really is almost impossible to disappear now, isn't it? People can, if you have any social media presence whatsoever, even just one, let's say it's Facebook, people, so-and-so I went to school with, he lives in New Hampshire, he lives in Dover, he's got kids, it's, you really can't really disappear anymore, can you? And, so maybe, that's funny that you brought that up. I didn't think about that when our agoraphobic man goes to the bank, that he runs into a buddy who's the security guard who is just pestering him and encourage him to basically reach out through social media and engage, which is hard for Chet to do.
Yeah, I like it because he was hard for him to escape just in the parking lot, and then it kind of now with social media even goes beyond the parking lot, beyond
right,
physical. Yeah,
the guy won't let him go. Hey, friend me.
Right. Which I have some people like that from school. They might be listening, so maybe I should say that. But
it's interesting. I get some of that too through social media. People who you just didn't click with, or
exactly,
okay, we went to school together, and it's and You know, it's
the only connection.
You bring up something really funny. I wonder how many people listening right now, when they first started doing social media, how many people guilt-friended somebody. In other words, accepted a friend request through guilt, which I did. You know, I'd have people reach out to me who I didn't even know, and I was just learning about social media, and I'd be like, who's this guy Harvey? And well, I don't want to hurt his feelings. All right, I'll just accept his thing. And now I'm a bit more discriminating, since there's a lot of very interesting individuals out there who are trying to, you know, steal your identity and do different things. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, it's like, well, in high school, I mean, I was into all movies, but a lot of horror movies, and I played Dungeons and Dragons a lot, and I was into professional wrestling, so not exactly the coolest kid. But and then you know, like, you know, 10 or 15 years later, all these people, it's like, I never even talked to you in high school, and you know, they kind of act like they're your best friend, or it's very bizarre.
It's a very interesting dynamic. Yeah, it's very interesting. And then our lead character, he basically, after graduation, that's it. He disappeared into his mom's house for 10 years, never to be seen again. You know.
So, have you played I think you played the movie at festivals, because I saw some pictures.
Yeah, we were very fortunate. It really became a little mini indie film festival sensation. We were in several festivals through 2017. We won. Actually, I take that back. We won several awards, but we really were not in a huge amount of festivals, and that was a really nice surprise. And it just wasn't expected. And the majority of the awards were like Best Actress, Best Actor. We got some other ones producing, you know, our producer, Marcus Lineker, you know, and for editing and writing. But the majority of the awards were for acting, for Dustin and for Linda, and Lori Petty won one as well. And so, yeah, that was an awesome experience. And we went all over the place, you know, to New York and Jersey and Philly and, you know, you name it. So that was a blast. That was a lot of fun.
Well, what is like, especially the first experience when you're watching your movie Fear, Love, and Agoraphobia on the big screen with an audience?
That is something that I look forward to because, you know, from my first feature film, I learned very quickly. When I did my first feature, I thought it was like this brilliant masterpiece. And I was just like, oh my God, they are going to just be loving this, you know? And then the first time I saw it with an audience, you know, I had a rude awakening. I was like, yeah, they like it, but they didn't laugh in that place, or, you know, didn't get emotional in that place. I wonder why. And it was a real education as a filmmaker that, you know, your audience will teach you so much without even have a conversation with you. So I always look forward to watching the movie with an audience, and I always usually stand in the back right-hand or left-hand corner of the theater, and I'm watching the audience watch the movie, and I'm taking notes, you know, literally taking notes, because I'll always have a screening, sort of a small semi-private screening before I will lock picture. And so that audience, without them knowing it, is that they're helping me to make final edit decisions. And even with a drama, you can tell. You can just see, read people's body language and, you know, see if they're bored, and, you know, and literally I would see people get on their phone, you know, literally take their phone out, and I'm like, okay, that part is not working, you know, and why? And so, yeah, the very first screening I had was for the purpose of helping me make final editing choices. And then out of that group, I maybe spoke to 5 individuals that I had a relationship with and who were in the business and whose opinion I trusted. And they gave me some very good feedback. And so then I did, that was the 5th draft of the movie. So I did 2 more drafts and then the 7th draft was it. Locked picture, we're done. Had the big cast and crew screening, and they loved it. Then we had our first festival, which was the Hollywood Real Independent Film Festival in Los Angeles, at a huge Regency theater in downtown LA, like massive, great sound system and picture. And that's where Lori Petty, our only name actress, that's where she won her Best Supporting award from HRIF. So, yeah, the screenings were great and a lot of fun.
Yeah, she's always good in everything, obviously. How did she get involved in the movie?
Yeah, I feel very fortunate that we got Lori Petty in. That was an idea by there's 3 producers: Dustin Coffey, myself, and Marcus Lineker. Our MVP producer, most valuable player, Marcus Lineker. He came up with the idea. He said, I know you don't, you want to use people from the acting studio and Linda and Dustin and all that, but let's get a name actor in here. And I said, well, who do you have in mind and for what part? And he said, why don't we get somebody who we really admire and like sort of a dream actor from the late 80s, early 90s, which is kind of our favorite movie time. Those are movies that we, obsessed about when we were younger, and all that kind of thing. And he said, Lori Petty would be great. And I was like, yeah, Lori Petty, because Tank Girl, was a fun movie, and A League of Their Own, and Point Break with Keanu Reeves, and, You're in the Army Now. She did all these movies. And so we submitted a proposal to her management, and she read the script and she loved it. And she's like, yeah, I'll do this. This looks cool. And it was a blast.
Yeah, she's really good. I think that could work in one of 2 ways. Like if you have a name actress or actor in your movie, like it worked really well with Lori because she's very good and it's very natural. But I think it could also, if you maybe get someone and then it's just kind of like they stand out, like, hey, that's just so and so in the movie. It doesn't really connect with the rest of it, but it totally worked.
That's a very good point that I didn't even think of. That the charm of this film is everyone is unknown in the movie. Most of the people in this movie are from my Cinema Gym acting and directing studio, and it was their first film, with the exception of there's 2 middle-aged actors in it that play Chet's parents. And they obviously had done some movies before, but everybody in the movie but they're not well-known faces. And you're right. All of a sudden, if Meryl Streep shows up, it's like, what?
Yeah.
But so maybe it's a good thing. We caught Lori. She certainly is still working, but she hadn't worked for a while, and then she was working in television on Orange Is the New Black and a couple of other shows. So she was sort of like coming back, and we caught her at the right time. So, I think people, she obviously looked different. She was older. She's more mature and seasoned. Her hair color was different. So it didn't look like a movie star that got plopped into the film.
Mm-hmm. To go back to the editing, did you do your own editing on the whole movie?
Yeah. No, actually, the very first draft, hang on 1 second. The very first draft, or the very first half, the first half of the first draft was edited by my assistant editor. And I just wanted him to see if he could put as much of the film together very quickly. And he got halfway through it, and then I took over. And then after that, I edited the rest of the other 6 drafts. So, but he was helpful. It was interesting to see how somebody else cut the film, and he had a different style than me that was much more quick cuts, a lot of different angles. And I had decided to just go with making it longer takes and not worrying about whether or not the audience was going to still be engaged if the shot wasn't constantly changing. because it really, I felt like that's not the movie we're making right now. It's a character piece. It's not plot driven, and we're just going to take our time. And either people are going to enjoy spending time with this agoraphobic man and this female Marine, or they're not. And so that editing style seemed to work out really well.
Mm-hmm. I was just wondering, like, if you edit your own thing, do you ever, is it harder sometimes? Because it would be something like maybe you have the memory of when you're filming it, as opposed to something that may or may not work within the movie. Like, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it absolutely doesn't. That's a great question. The first feature that I've directed like about 2 features, 10 short films, a web series, but the very first project was a feature film. And editing it, as you said, was difficult because I was married to, or emotionally just tied to, what was in the script. And I'm sure you've heard the expression that in the movie business, the script is written 3 times. The first time is by the screenwriter, and then the second author is the director as he's shooting it. He's changing things, he's moving things around, adding things. And then the third author of it is the editor, because if he's allowed to, he'll go ahead and suggest things, or have the director do different things, or suggest even doing a reshoot. So I like the fact that if I'm the editor, I get to, and as the director, so I change things as the director while I'm shooting, actually rewriting some things on set. Like I'll stop the scene because I'm like, this isn't working, and it's not the performance, it's the writing. And then in editing, same thing, where I'll rearrange the order of some scenes. I'll chop out dialogue. I came up with 2 scenes that were not in the script. As an editor, I was thinking, I need 2 more little scenes that I didn't think of. And I wrote those. We went out and just shot them real quick, and then I cut it into the movie. So editing is great because it gives you, as a filmmaker, just one more chance to play with the script a little bit.
Mm-hmm. So where can you, I know it's on video domain, but do you have any specifics where you can see Fear, Love, and Agoraphobia?
Yeah, it's now available on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon. And I believe it's streaming on Amazon, but I think the DVD is going to be available in a couple of days.
Oh, cool. Is there any specials on that? I assume there are.
Any specials? I'm sorry.
Yeah, the DVD.
Oh, you mean on the DVD? Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I have a behind-the-scenes video that I put together that just gives you a little bit of backstory and more information on how the movie was made and agoraphobia. And then I also recorded a director's commentary, which one of our producers, Marcus Lineker, is part of, and both of our lead actors are part of. And I tried to share as many stories as I could for any other filmmakers out there that are just looking for some new tools or tips or things. Because obviously this movie was made on a very modest budget. And I love listening to directors' commentaries and just getting different ideas and, different tools for myself for the future.
Yeah.
So, I put a lot of that stuff into the DVD commentary.
Yeah. Interesting enough, have a lot of independent filmmakers on the show, and some of various levels, because I think independent is kind of is a broad term, honestly. But some people I've had on they've said that they've who didn't go to film school, that they learned to direct from listening to commentary tracks.
I'll be honest with you. Even though I did take some filmmaking classes after I made my first feature. So I made a first feature without any filmmaking experience, and it actually came out pretty good. I don't recommend that. I think you do need training and you need mentorship and guidance. But in all honesty, I made my first feature just because the director that I hired got overwhelmed and bailed out. And it was up to me to I guess I'm the director now. And it worked out, and I fell in love with it and transitioned from from acting into screenwriting and editing and directing, all because the guy I hired, he wasn't able to do the job. And so I found that I was good at it. So anyway, I did take a few directing classes, but honestly, I learned so much from DVD commentaries of some of my favorite directors, especially Martin Scorsese. So I always like to say that my teacher was Martin Scorsese. That's not necessarily true, but partially.
Taxi Driver is one of my favorite commentary tracks. Actually, that's a few commentary tracks I think that are great on that particular DVD. Not just Martin Scorsese, I believe it. Yeah. Paul Schrader does one. Yeah, it's
absolutely. Yeah, I've got the exact same one that you have. It's an anniversary edition that has all kinds of extras.
Yeah. Also, Goodfellas. I really love the one on Goodfellas. This is not from a technical standpoint, but just it's the cop and crook, I think they call it, and it's Henry Hill and the guy who caught him. And I always love that commentary because the guy who caught him, you could tell like he kind of has like a love for the mafia guys, and I don't know, I find it very interesting.
Yeah, it is. That's a good one too. Yeah, excellent suggestion.
Cheap plug. I actually interviewed Henry Hill on the show years ago, which I was very excited about.
Oh wow!
My co-host at the time was not, because he didn't like the idea of having like a criminal on the show, but I had
fun. I would have interviewed him in a minute. Why not? He's part of. He's a historical figure now.
Exactly. And so, how can you follow yourself and Fear, Love, and Agoraphobia online?
Thanks, man. Thanks for asking. So, if anybody wants to follow our film, Fear, Love, and Agoraphobia, you can go on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook. And you can also visit our website. There's a lot of cool reviews and interviews and trailers and biographies on our website, which is www.fearloveandagoraphobia.com.
Very cool. And I love the name, and I think there is, especially now since there are so many movies out there, I think a good name is very important, especially one that's interesting and not, not like the run, or not like a generic name. And Fear, Love, and Agoraphobia.
Thank you. Thanks. That literally took a year to come up with, and in the end, I sort of plagiarized Steven Soderbergh's Sex, Lies, and Videotape. So thank you, Steven, for that. If you're going to steal from the best.
Exactly. Well, I appreciate you coming on. I had a lot of fun talking to you.
Yeah, it was a blast. Thank you so much, Neil.
Thank you. And I really like the movie. I know this is primarily a horror movie podcast, but that doesn't mean that's all I watch. So.
Thanks. It means a lot to us. I appreciate the support.
Thank you. All right.
Have a good day. You take care.
You as well.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
This is Otto.
This is Strobo.
This is Strong.
And this is Max of the Killer Robots. And we're coming to you live from Without Your Head. Hey!
Without our heads.